Hello, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. No more food coma this time around, so we're all good. I'm going to get started here in just a minute, just getting things up on my phone so I can see what's going on. I do hope you're all alright. Hope you're all doing well today. So let me just get things adjusted here, and we'll get started. So today we are going to be finishing off the turn. That is going to be the general game plan here. But what we're going to do first and foremost then is just have a quick review of what occurred, basically. I'm not entirely sure if there's a way to review what happened in terms of the actual battles. Maybe in the future that could be a thing there. But what we'll have to do is just take a look at what's happened on the ground and go from there. So let's just center our view here then. So as far as it goes, you can see that, ignore this, this is generally just where we went forward with the air mobiles, or just capture territory. It's probably going to see the death of those men, but I'm hoping that it does provoke at least some sort of response from him. At the end of the day, he may ignore it, he may do something about it, he is likely to attack those units, but if he attacks those units, granted it doesn't take much to deal with them, but it does take something. And it means that he has to have something there, so I'm hoping that it's going to cause a little micro issue, or a little bit of a potential, oh okay, I need to defend these points. We did manage to capture a couple VP points from doing that. Again, he's going to take them back, but in that time it means that we take that VP from him, so that helps. But generally how things are flowing right now, it has gone better than I had actually hoped to a degree. Now, we hadn't taken Vienna. Vienna was an interesting one. I think we'd achieved a tactical victory, but not won the day. I think we had to retreat due to the fortifications there. Sorry about the weird things with the mouse. I do need to get another mouse. I've got this nice Alienware mouse I've had a few years now. But I let my girlfriend use that, so... it's alright. It's a Razer Death Adder, apparently. It's a couple of years old, but it's like something about the mouse was all weird. But it works for the vast majority of stuff, so you know what, it's fine. But yes, we've not been able to take Vienna outright. So Vienna is going to continue to be a bit of a bloodbath. But that's not the worst thing in the world. It means he has to keep committed to the city, just as we do. But it means that these forces, he can't... And I don't know, maybe he does, but it's like, if it was me, and I was like, okay, yeah, so Vienna's worth quite a few victory points, but at the end of the day, right, I'm in a little bit of a dangerous position here. I have to either commit, but that means he has to hold the rear. He can cycle forces in and out of here, but eventually we could be in a position where we're threatening this area here. So he's going to have to protect this. He's going to have to protect this area here. Really, and I don't know really what the limitations are of the Italians. Maybe they can't go everywhere here, but at the end of the day, it's like, is it viable to defend? And don't get me wrong, it is. It's going to be viable to defend for a little while, but eventually we'll get to the point of where either we'll break him or we'll flank him. Or something over here will change. Now, that's not guaranteed. Maybe it goes badly, and maybe he can maintain the position, maintain the victory point. We'll see. This one's been interesting. I'm not entirely sure what the red X indicates, circle indicates, sorry. I think we are supplying here. It does look like there's green here, so I think we are technically connected to the supply lines here. But this one's been interesting. I didn't expect this one to go as well as it did. And don't get me wrong, I completely and fully expect this force to be repulsed. I think that's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it gives us something. We're in a position here now. This is only forest and roads, so it's not the best defensive terrain. But it does mean that we at least have like some defense. It will give us some advantage there. These forces over here, fairly weak. And again, if he goes for it, it's -2 to him, so it's rough terrain. So at least that helps us. I fully expect him to... he's going to likely counterattack. And I feel he's going to likely counterattack at the point when he has the maximum amount of strength. Like, he could draw a lot of force into this, and there's not all that much I can do about it. But what I'm hoping is, well, he's either going to choose one to attack, he's either going to pull back. He could try to maintain the position, but there's no gain from here. Like, sure, he sees this province and loses, like, a victory point. Whoa, big deal. Nuremberg, again, is a bit of a different story, but Victory City, Nuremberg... Victory Cities don't fall immediately. They usually take some time. They're a bit of a pain in the ass like that, but it's quite cool to see that sieges are a legitimate thing, like they are serious. Yeah, so he'd be better off falling back, but at the end of the day, it's up to him. Does he want to trade space for time? Does he want to trade blows with us? It depends. Space for time makes sense for him. He'll gain more reinforcements. Obviously, things will go on. We'll experience attrition, but who knows? It depends, really. But at the end of the day, we managed to make a breakthrough over here. Whoops. So yes, we have that position here, which is good for us. We managed to push back a stack that wasn't as well prepared. We managed to push back the US forces over here. I forget how much damage we did to them, but we did some damage to them. Not a great deal, but we did damage to them, I believe. I can't actually remember right now. We have forces over here, like this position's weak. But again, if it pushes into here, it's not the end of the world, and it draws them in further. So it is an interesting one. Over here we have a decent Soviet force, not the best one, but it's okay. Like, it would be beaten, don't get me wrong. But again, that's drawing him in. So, we'll see about that. There are Soviet follow-up forces that will be coming too, so we'll see how that goes. It's going to be an interesting move regarding air defense, but we'll get to that when we get to that. We did break this force here very, very easily. There is a large German force over here. But the good news is, at this moment in time, we have a okay force over here. Like, this force is okay. These are like Holden forces. At least there's good strength here. Yeah, one second. The mouse has been really weird. There we go. Okay. I should get a better mouse. Maybe I should do that. But anyhow, he has to make a choice now. Like, before, he had a position that was somewhat anchored, but we have broken that anchor. We have lifted that anchor. Because they did have US forces here that were holding out, which were a pain in the ass, and he did have a US force over here that was holding out. Right now, that's not true. So he's like, okay, my US forces here and my German forces over here, they're capable of holding, but they're not super well positioned. So that's something he has to bear in mind. But I fully expect him to possibly counterattack, and I feel like that's going to happen. He has these assets, he may as well use them, but again, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. So over here we have some forces that will likely be taken out, but again, we'll see. This force over here will be easily able to do that. And I was really tempted to hit that force, but after reviewing what we actually did have, well, after reviewing what we did actually have out here, there's not a lot of strength. There is a great danger that this force could be cut off. And I think that is a danger, but I also think it's something of an enticement. We do have a force over here to repel that, and there's obviously collections of forces around here too. We've been bringing in additional Soviet forces. There's, additional men moving in here. We also have the East Germans collecting as an army over here too, so they can begin pushing this area. So, that's not too bad. We'll see how it goes, of course. To the north, but again, before I move on, Castle is useful for me because it means that, yeah, he has the British Army on the right here. Okay, yeah, I fully respect that, completely expect that, and I'm sure that they're very competent and they'll probably hurt me a lot, but it depends. Is he going to commit? Is he going to attack me? Maybe. I'd like him to attack me. It would help to have that morale bonus from the defense, but we'll see about that. But I'm interested in this road north. That is where I want to go. I want to link up with our forces to the north. And there's really not that much distance here. Like, there are forces around here at Hanover, we know about. We know there's a German force over here. We know that there's forces over here on the front line. These ones are just holding forces for the most part. But again, they're still bearing strength. But the thing is, he has to bear in mind that there is something like a jaw moving in here. This isn't super well supported, because obviously there's not a great deal of strength behind it, but there is strength here in the immediate area. But I've kind of left this purposely ambiguous, because at the end of the day, this is in the centre. The centre is a very interesting area, really. Mostly because it's like, I want to have him, like, okay, he's committed to the north, or he's committed to the south, or he's committed to the centre. Right now, it's kind of non-committal, which is both a good and a bad thing. But I do have to point out that for the next 2 turns, he still has the additional combat factor on defense, being 2 tiles away from the German border. East border, I should say. So I don't really want to engage him straight up unless it's in my favour. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to go for. But over here in the north's been great. We have moved up here to Wolfsburg, which is good, because at the end of the day, this means that there's not that much in the way of resistance here. Maybe I move into this province over here. It would be nice to control that road and be able to move up here very efficiently. And I would like that, because I don't actually have a road connecting over here, besides over at Hamburg. So taking this road over here is actually pretty important to me. So we'll see what happens. Maybe he pulls back, maybe counterattacks. And there is a danger, like these forces could be potentially hit and wiped out. Which I kind of wish I'd thought about a little bit more. But then again, I do have the Maskarovka over here. And I'm really hoping, really hoping that he's Because at the end of the day, like, look at how we've gone in the actual previous stream, like, when I was doing the actual moves. Like, stacks that I thought were, like, ooh, maybe potentially dangerous, aren't that dangerous. It's really hard to tell. Like, you can even use satellites so you can see what's kind of going on, but you can't see really what strength it is. So this is worth jack all. It would waste a lot of time, which is good. But it also looks like something on the map, and that's good. We do have a real force over here behind it, so it's not as if there's nothing in this area. We did also move over here. This, of course, is a bit of a danger that there's nothing here. But again, I do have his force here. If he moves out, okay, that's great. I can move out and deal with him. We did find that the US were in here. So we did manage to push him back. He's been pushed to Bremen, which Bremen is a amazing place to actually hold out. So that's actually really unfortunate that we couldn't just defeat him in the field. But we did push him back. I forget what damage we did to him, but I think we did some decent damage. But yeah, this is a good force. I'm hoping that I can pour more men and material into this area as well. We know that there's a Pomkus around here. These German forces, I forget, were they here? Or was it a mix? I forget. Yeah, we also have forces here to the north. What I'm going to go ahead and do then is, like, take some Polish forces and have them sit on Hamburg. To besiege Hamburg, you need at least 12 strength to do so. And then what I'd do is I'd just really just have artillery put on it, like siege artillery. Let's see. Like this guy, siege bonus. That guy doesn't have siege bonus. Siege bonus here. I'd have to collect the siege artillery. And that's not a bad thing, like, have a okay holding force, collect the siege artillery, and have it put onto Hamburg and try and break Hamburg. We did assault Berlin this turn, and we can see what happens when you assault. Assaults are really quite bloody. So I'm going to have to spend points on actually beefing those guys up. Maybe you could counterattack, but at the end of the day, if he counterattacks, that's great for me. It means I could actually probably win that. So we'll see, but he could attack it with air power and try and wipe out those units. So again, that's a worry. But yeah, in the north, moving up. That's in the way there. But I've got a Polish force over here, which is actually fairly decently strong. So Lubeck's an interesting one. Oh, these are refugees, routed units, basically stragglers that have collected themselves together and reformed into some kind of ad hoc unit. So they're over here to the north. But right now, there's nothing here. As far as I know. I imagine, and I believe, after seeing through satellites, that there are forces here to the north. But it depends, like, how do I want to handle the situation here? Because there are victory points to be gained here. Don't get me wrong, there definitely are. But the victory for me, like, taking Denmark would be big. There's a lot of victory points over here at Denmark. But for me, it is destroying the enemy in the field. Denmark isn't the key for me. It would be great, because obviously it would mean that I could bring all these forces down here. But we'll see. I'm going to try and destroy him in the field and deal with it piecemeal. It's not the greatest objective for me in Denmark. The objective for me really is to, like, strongly take the North German plain. I think once we can mass forces over here, then I can try and engage NATO and really bring a lot of force to bear. Try and cut them off. Just try and reach the Rhine, really. Try and make it out here, but we'll see. Okay, so that's the general summary of what's going on. So we've got the air defense move, and I didn't mean to move those, but that's okay. Besides these guys, not so okay. But I would like to have them in an airfield, so okay. I've got to stop doing that when I just like drag them out. It's a bit of an issue, but it is what it is. I do need to find forces with strength. And again, this is going to come down to how do we choose to defend ourselves now. So I've got a couple of these helicopter groups over here. Do I want them over here? It depends. It really does depend. Is he going to counterattack me is the question. And I'm honestly not too sure. If you guys are watching, do let me know if your audio is loud enough. I think the music's a little quiet right now, but I keep getting copyrighted, so I'm not entirely sure if I want to keep it loud. Okay. I do think about these helicopters a lot, because at the end of the day, I really do want to keep these guys in good strength. I don't want to have to replace them, and they are pretty easily attrited by air power. But if I have them in the airfields, then they're actually relatively safe. And it means I have something that I can keep using. Now, it's not a guarantee that they're going to be safe, but it does mean that they have a good opportunity to stay in the fight consistently. And it is really, like, the thing that we have here is, like, NATO has fantastic helicopters, but we have really good helicopters, or we have good solid helicopters, and we have them in pretty damn good numbers. So That's a big deal, and I want to retain that. So maybe even at the cost of some ground power, I would retain them. They also do take up stack in the air, so it's one of those, if I could have these guys here, I could have fighters. Granted, these guys have fighters. But what I'm thinking about doing is, like, we have them sent over here to actually just protect the airfields in general. Just obviously, like, mass over there. But then they could potentially respond. I thought about having them over here at castle. But again, it comes down to the issue of, like, if I concentrate assets here, he can bring assets and hit me. I need to defend smart, not poorly. Another thing would be to have them here, but again, I don't know. It's a very interesting question regarding, like, defense of air power, of ground power, I should say, because it really does come down to, like, having mass and having, like, supported stacks. And I'm not sure I can defend everything. That is a big problem here. There's a lot of area over here, and we did see what happened when I was able to attack his stacks and just keep throwing air power at them when they were especially spread out. So I'm not too sure. And I feel like we are going to suffer, but unless he destroys a unit, I can put replacements in there. It does mean that there's going to be attrition, but at the end of the day, it's attrition to his forces too. Not so much air power, depends, but yeah. So, we'll see. I think it's worth holding the helicopters as like a real reserve. As like something that can actually be consistently useful. They're saying that there's like too much in here, so let's see. This is where a lot of helicopters are hanging out. These fighters are okay strength. Right. Yeah, it's quite a lot of fighters over here. And this is in the airfield over here. Okay. What do we have ground-wise here? Not a huge deal. I don't know if I'm that comfortable having that much air power here on a frontline base. All it'd take is him to push in there. So I do want to bear that in mind, in fact. We do have another airfield out here that's not too far away, in fairness. I probably will transfer helicopters out this way. The helicopters don't need to go that far, so it's not too bad, really. Granted, I could have them move across the battlefield, but I'm going to have them probably shifted out here. So, let me see. Yeah, I'll take those helicopters and shift them. Right, I'll move them in the airfield over here. Though there is always that consideration of what if there is like some kind of air landing. They don't have any defense, so I probably want to place them somewhere where there is some defense. I mean, well, granted, this is not defense really. Over here, it actually be pretty good. Like, at least there's some air defenses and there's actually some troops on the ground. So we'll have them moved over here. There we are. So we'll have the helicopters moved over here. Okay. I genuinely feel like it's going to hurt this turn. But again, this is the point. It's about maintaining capability. Like, we saw what happened to the Czechs in that turn beforehand, so I need to remember that. I've got an airfield here, but obviously I'm not that silly to put stuff on that airfield right now. There's not much blocking this airfield. This airfield, I guess, is maybe okay. But again, this is open. I mean, it's just... Oh, actually, no, there's a decent bit of force there. Okay, so it's not too bad. Yes, I guess I can put forces here, then. There's also these guys here, so it's not too bad, in fact. But again, it comes down to like what we want to do here. I think I really need to choose where the advance is, but it's not easy. It really isn't easy. I could kind of have them positioned in such a way as like they might intercept. So like covering this position or covering this position would cover these positions around it. And that's kind of what we'll have to do. These guys are likely going to suffer, but... It does depend. So what we'll do then is we'll bring back our helicopters. I think I'll probably make that a mission to begin with is moving the helicopters. I could have the helicopters involved here, but at the end of the day, I know that they would do good, but just the risk of the attrition is just too high for me. Like, these guys, like, these ones are the 6, okay, they're a little bit more sustainable. But they have so little air defense that they will go down. A majority are like this, where it's like 4. And it's like, again, they're likely going to go down. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. I feel like the game is going to be a long game, and if I can try and maintain my gunships, it's going to help, because that is something I can throw into the fight in the land phase. And while my ground forces may suffer, it's something that I can actually bring consistently and try and maintain. Like, they do bring a lot of strength. Like, these guys, like 5.5 is a pretty damn good unit. That's like better than a lot of units. Like, if we compare that to the Czechs over here. Oh, I've compared this to the this is showing their air defense, actually. These guys have okay air defense. But compare it. 6.5, they put on ground. 5.6, yeah. These guys have about the... Well, they have one less attack than the Guards division over here. Tank division, I should say. But they have the same attack as the Guards motorized over here. Obviously, one less defense, but at the end of the day, like, air power is something I can bring in significantly easier than I can bring in ground power. So being able to bring in significant amount of helicopters is actually pretty big. Like, so what are these guys? Stacking value of 3. Okay, so I can bring quite a few into here. Obviously, when we get into provinces where there's a larger stacking limit, then the helicopters really play an even more vital role. So that's my justification. At least over here at Vienna, I can cover things to a degree. I could place them maybe over here and it'll cover this area, but we'll see. It's going to be a costly time over here. These guys do need rest, of course, the ones that are damaged. There's not really that much that's undamaged. But at the end of the day, he suffered too. So it's a question of like, well, can he maintain? Can we maintain? We can't always maintain. Hey Dynasty, good to have you. Yeah, Mars got a band's report. Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. A couple days into the war now. Right. And again, it's the same thing with the bombers. Like, keeping the bombers safe is important. Yeah, our forces... I don't know. It is an interesting one. We have expended a lot of power. I'm going to go ahead and put these guys over here at this airfield. I've got some fresh fighters over here, are relatively fresh. These guys are actually okay too. So, maybe I put a force over here. We'll see. I mean, maybe, to be honest, this is probably be the better one to cover, because it's going to cover this area anyway. If I place it here, it does help here, but at the end of the day, it's not that big a deal. Here I have 2 offensive armies, and I do want to cover that. Oh, you can watch it at the end of the day. It's interesting to see how you get to different places. Who knows? So I'll place this stack over here then to begin with. And again, I do need to make sure I have it properly covered, so I do need to bring in the reconnaissance and etc. These guys are really, really important. Right. It does mean that even like these less than stellar units can still get involved. Their assets are really, really poor right now for some reason. Anyway, I don't know why their stats are so weird, but anyway. So I can handle a little bit more in there. So I'll place this stack in there. Ah, no. Yeah. Oops. We may not simply be able to do all that much on the ground. Sorry, in the air here. It's still, of course, worth defending. It's just it's going to cost me if I defend. So I have to be quite careful where I choose to defend. I can't cover everything. It's a little foolish to think that I can. I wish I could bring the poles, but eventually I'll be able to bring the poles up. Alright, so I've got these bombers over here. These guys are great. And I could fit them over here, in fact. Alright. Now, I could have them brought over here and it would help out. But again, I do have one over here in fairness, so I could probably do that. And it would mean that I could probably put some fighters up. But again, I'm very weak on the ground here. So I'm not sure if I want to do that. There may just simply have to be areas that are not covered. But we'll see. In fairness, I could have taken these forces over here. Maybe I still do. Nah. Like covering here would be interesting because it covers this area. If I cover it, well, actually, this one would be best because it covers quite a few provinces here, so that's a good place to cover there. Alright. Got electronic warfare there. Well, I've got reconnaissance one, which works for me. And this one here too. Someone going here. I think this German one can't actually do it, so that's not great. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, so that covers here. Doesn't mean that it's perfect, but it does mean at least it can't come in here without some costs incurred. These guys are really, really poor maneuver. Yeah, they cannot go far. Let's see. I may just have to put them in here. It's a bit of a shame that I've only got the one there. I would like to have another in that. But I can't really, because I can't. Oh, no, then again I can actually. Right, let's grab one to cover that. Having at least two, I think, is pretty important. It means that these stacks are actually pretty resilient. They need recovering. Right, let's see. Yeah, these guys are great. So I've got two here that I can use. I know I've got the heavy bombers with electronic warfare. Like one over here. And then technically one down here if I so we should choose. Now, I do need to cover this with air, because there's a pretty real danger that if I don't cover this with air, I may be defeated out here, and I don't have anything out here. So that is something I do need to bear in mind. I would need to send reinforcements down there. But again, this is it. I'm kind of banking on the fact that, well, he could attack us. Like, this is great. I mean, this is a really bad place to be in terms of, like, air power. It's a shame that we didn't get Vienna, but again, we've got a lot of strength here. Like, there's 108. Obviously, it does need to be recovered, but we do have a lot of strength in this. Which also means it has a lot of air defense. So that stack's actually pretty reasonably well protected. These guys, not so much. So I do want to cover them. So, maybe... It feels like a real risk here, and it does mean that I can't cover the turn after. I've really got to think about that one if I want to do that, but they do need to have some air cover. Alright, this is another one over here that I can use. That's very useful. I can use Sputnik again? Okay. Let's go ahead and use Sputnik again. That'll give us an idea what's going on then. So I'll move Sputnik over here then for the moment. Oh, is it not revealed this time? Ah, okay. So I can't move into enemy territory. Okay, okay. So it's not really doing me any good there. So might as well just move it back to Moscow. We keep the satellites on the ground, you see. Put some wings on them. Make them look like TIE fighters. Alright. These guys need to recover. They need to recover. They don't have to be in Moscow. I just think when they have the range to do it, it's not a terrible thing to do. So at the end of the day, I do worry about the off chance that he does have something like airborne or something like that. There's some kind of crazy thing that could happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put some... Exactly. Now you get it. Now you get it. I can really only defend a few places at the absolute most. Like, this could be a good, strong group to have down here, and maybe... I think I do need it down there. Because right now I actually don't have anything, so I'm gonna... It hurts, but again, I could just cover here. This area is not too much in danger. They can return and just... Yeah. What's the air stack in there? Oh, of course it's already up high. I don't really need all that much. I could actually... Is that 10 and that's already 6, so let's see. Right. I do want to have another defense unit in there if I can, so let's go with that. That leaves me obviously like additional space, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to see if I have another one of those electronic warfare bombers around here. And I do. I know I have one over here in fairness, so I'll bring that one. But yeah, okay, so that ensures some air cover here. Some. Nothing perfect, but it's there. I'd be a crazy guy to put that in there. I could probably put that in there.